leaders call for lifting of ban on Aussies to Bougainville. Police officer on the run for betelnut smuggling. And border troops left out in the cold.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to Wednesday's news. Now straight to breaking news out of Lae City. Lae's Brian Bell Home Centre in town went up in flames around 5 o'clock this afternoon. Lae's fire service are still struggling to save the BSP Bank and Westpac Bank offices parallel to the home centre. In 2014, Lae City experienced the highest number of fire incidents with 7 major fires in a space of 3 months. This latest fire adds to the list and exposes yet again the weaknesses in Papua New Guinea's ability to prevent and contain fire emergencies. EMTV's Bethany Harriman is on the scene and will bring you this report later in the bulletin. Grand Chief Dr. John Mommis has called on the PNG government to immediately lift the ban on Australians travelling to Bougainville. Mommis claims the PNG government does not have the authority to issue the ban and urged PNG Foreign Affairs Minister Rimbing Pato to resolve PNG's dispute with Australia separately. The Bougainville leader said that PNG government should remember that the peace agreement grants Bougainville high autonomy, giving it control over which foreigners can travel there.
The PNG and Australian governments have been urged to honour the Bougainville Peace Agreement and resolve their dispute. Minister Pato imposed the ban in response to Australia's plan to establish a diplomatic office in Bougainville. According to the statement, as far as the Bougainville leader is concerned, there is no rationale behind the PNG government's decision to ban Australians from travelling to the region, and that the ban would cause problems for Bougainville. Yesterday, however, Rimbing Pato, PNG's Minister for Foreign Affairs and Immigration, said the decision to restrict access for Australians had been well received by people in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Pato stated that the ban was easing fears and concerns that have been raised in Bougainville since Australia's plans were made public in the government's budget announcement last Tuesday. In contrary to Pato's statements, Mommis called on the foreign minister to be mindful of Bougainville's autonomy, seeking assurance from the minister to refrain from making unilateral decisions relating to the travel of foreign citizens to Bougainville, adding that such actions can only be taken at the request or in agreement with the autonomous Bougainville government. Mommis reiterated that under the peace agreement, Bougainville has high autonomy, also guaranteed by the PNG Constitution, giving the ABG full control of the access of foreigners to the region. Therefore, the PNG government's ban is a serious breach of the spirit of the Bougainville Peace Agreement. Australia spends a total of 120 million kina annually in assistance to Bougainville, supporting the development and capacity building of the ABG's public service. The imposed ban would only severe service delivery and assistance to Bougainville, said Mommis. As a matter of urgency, Grand Chief Dr. John Mommis says he would like to meet with the Prime Minister, Peter O'Neill, and Minister for Foreign Affairs to discuss this diplomatic issue. Sasha Pesilovo, National EMTV News.
The opposition has challenged the national government to lift a ban on Australians entering the autonomous region of Bougainville. Opposition leader Don Pollier says the Australian government has contributed significantly to the growing development of Bougainville in the last 10 years, and the government should respect that.
The opposition this afternoon made clear of its intentions with the recent ban of Australians travelling into Bougainville. The opposition believes the PNG government was misinformed on the intentions of Australia.
Them establishing an office there in Bougainville, the opposition's position is that it is an extension of their diplomacy, a diplomatic office here in Port Moresby, to enhancing the administration of funds and programs into the autonomous region. It should not be seen as a problem or a threat to Papua New Guinea.
On Monday, Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Rimbing Pato imposed a ban following Australia's proposed move to establish a diplomatic post on Bougainville. The Australian government in response said it had discussed this plan with the PNG government last year, and now the opposition wants the ban to be lifted. However, the government believes Bougainville should not have a diplomatic post established now, as it's a sensitive issue relating to its peace agreement and the current general elections.
For now, the opposition wants the PNG government to provide guidance over the Australian government on issues relating to Bougainville.
Government of Papua New Guinea that must show ownership of providing the guidance and leadership on any matter concerning Bougainville or other parts of Papua New Guinea, because the Papua New Guinea government is responsible.
Stanley Ovett Jr., National EMTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has responded in a statement that the government is fully committed to developing the Pacific Marine Industrial Zone. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill made this commitment after landowners called on the government to stop the project. The Prime Minister says in total the project will generate 2 billion kina every year in economic activity to our nation, with most of this being around Madang province. Communities of Kananam, Rempi, Baiteta, Riwo and Malmal will be amongst those that will receive direct benefits from the project, particularly during the construction phase. The Prime Minister said the PMIZ is set to be a very valuable project for Madang and the nation, and he commended officials and private sector stakeholders involved in developing the project. A police officer alleged to have coordinated the smuggling of over 20 bags of betelnut into the National Capital District is on the run from Port Moresby Police. Senior Sergeant Pathry Penny, who is attached to the Baroka Police Station, fled the scene last Friday when police officers arrived at Gubby Village to apprehend him. Over 20 betelnut bags were confiscated during the raid.
The confiscated bags of betelnut were brought into the Baroka Police Station for disposal last Friday. Yesterday, they were transported to 7 Mile and set on fire. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Andy Bauer has condemned such behavior by police officers and said all betelnut confiscated will be destroyed in a similar manner.
I know our city rangers and CDC do take them up to the tarport and they get the rollers to crush them. But any other police officer who do take betelnuts like this from smugglers, I encourage them that they should take them over when they take them over from members of the public or to the smugglers for that matter. They should be arrested and charged.
Since the betelnut ban was put in place in 2013, there have been reported cases of police officers misusing their power to smuggle betelnut into the city. But Bauer warned that any police officers caught smuggling betelnut, including Sergeant Penny, will be criminally charged and internally disciplined.
And of course, the betelnuts should be disposed in this manner. Yeah? So nothing is seen to be taken away. There is no suspicion that police officers have taken the betelnut for their own personal consumption or have given them to their family as they perceive, so that it's done transparently and honestly in a way so that even police officers are not seen to be doing it illegally, and it's done in a manner that is acceptable.
Takla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Police investigators from Port Moresby's Criminal Investigation Division have commenced investigations into 3 separate deaths that occurred last week. 2 of the deaths were identified as suicides and the other considered a suspicious death. The suicide victims were females aged 19 and 21, while the suspicious death victim was a 23-year-old male. All 3 bodies remain at the Port Moresby General Hospital. Morobe Governor Kelly Naru has issued a stern warning to churches receiving provincial government funding under the Church Partnership Program that they will be blacklisted if funds are misused. So far, records show that 200,000 kina of the 5 million kina total has been wasted by a handful of recipients of that money. The provincial government has since stopped funding to those concerned.
Morobe's Church Partnership Program is in one sense beneficial to the essential services provided by the church, such as health and education, in places where there is limited government presence. But the program has come under fire over the last 3 years, with critics viewing it as a political campaign by the Nauru administration. The Church Partnership Program has funded health and education and has also funded large church gatherings involving hundreds of people, as well as the construction of churches.
Bikla yaw na ay blomipla na manpower blomipla ya am isap long all membership law congregation all yet. All sa kam na all ba to kumipla. Kasi ka hipla kim bikla monia auslotu ino sanap.
But not all has gone well in the 3 years. It is estimated that about 200,000 kina has been lost through the lack of accountability by recipient churches.
As one example me give long. Church Santa Plo Gapsunke. Gapsunke plant help me go. Igo na money go is nothing church no come up.
This morning, Governor Kelly Naru issued a stern warning to the recipients.
All church congregation parish o usa to lan oli establish lo sila kan mak. All establish lo blacklist lo mipla. Na request lo kam si malfi mikam. Am bounce back lo liet.
The provincial government has spent up to 5 million kina on the church partnership program. But not everything has gone to essential services, and that's been a point of debate between critics and the governor himself. For instance, members of the public are now questioning why the provincial government is spending 500,000 kina on a Lutheran synod in Finchhafen. The money will pay for logistics and food for the participants. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
Logistical issues are constantly affecting Papua New Guinea's Defence Force operations at the Wutung border post in Vanimore, Sandan province. Troops stationed at the border have raised this concern, calling on the PNGDF headquarters and the national government for assistance. They are mostly dependent on other government agencies operating at the border for support.
Indonesia maintains its military presence on a consistent basis on their side of the PNG-Indonesia border. Unfortunately, that is not the case for Papua New Guinea. The PNGDF military presence at the Wutung border remains inconsistent. This does not mean PNGDF personnel are not carrying out their border operations. They do, but under difficult circumstances, with very little support from force headquarters at Murray Barracks in Port Moresby and the national government. Logistical issues have affected their movement along the border to provide surveillance. Soldiers from the 2nd Royal Pacific Island Regiment Alpha Company based at Moyam Barracks Wewak are currently on the ground for border operations. They will be there for 4 months before another company takes over. Most times they have had to depend on other government agencies for support to perform their duties. While much of their attention is on maintaining surveillance on land, maritime surveillance of the border between PNG and Indonesia is well below satisfactory. They say most illegal activities such as smuggling of contrabands happens out at sea and outside of the military's radar because they do not have the logistics needed to carry out sea surveillance. They are calling on the national government to take matters of border security seriously and to provide them with the support they need. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
We now take you back to the Lae fire story where EMTV's Bethany Harriman was at the scene this afternoon.
The fire happened in one of Lae City's most central locations at around 5 o'clock this afternoon. The fire erupted at the Lae Top Town Bougainville Home Center. The cause of the fire is yet unknown, but police were quickly called onto the scene to stop looting. The fire has now completely engulfed the retail shop. Hundreds of people on their way homes witnessed the building razed. Firefighters arrived at the scene moments after the fire began and struggled to contain the fire. They couldn't save the Bougainville Home Center, but they are now struggling to save the Bank of South Pacific and Westpac Bank, both banks located on either side of the retail shop. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Lae.
You're watching National EMTV News tonight. Vanimore has potential to be PNG's industrial hub, and cocoa farmers in East New Britain concerned with lack of revival of the industry. That and more coming up after the break. Stay with us. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. Vanimore in the Sandan province has the potential to be PNG's industrial hub. Its strategic location on the PNG-Indonesian border gives it the upper hand to trade with other Asian countries. However, what's lacking is a conducive business environment for border trade to take place on the PNG side of the border.
Wutung border is an important economic corridor for Papua New Guinea. There is a high volume of trade taking place daily. Papua New Guineans living on the border have become heavily dependent on border trade to sustain their livelihood. plans are underway to harness this potential with the opening of the border.
It has got a potential. It's a sleeping giant. Like as we are speaking, you can see the volume of trade that is taking place right now. And we believe that with this facility, allowing for the first time, the vehicles from Papua New Guinea to drive into Indonesia. And instead of like the vehicles coming and stopping there, and then the vehicles coming here and stopping. So we will allow our vehicles to go all the way to Japura. And wherever the road connection is, Papua New Guineans can come and go there. And then the Indonesians can come and go to Vanimo and all the way to wherever the road ends. So that's what we are opening now.
Currently, much of the business is happening on the Indonesian side of the border, with very little business activities on the PNG side. Cash flow into Indonesia is estimated at around 7 million kina. This could be retained and trade increase on the PNG side if the proposed facilities are up and running. Also generate revenue for the country and the Sandaun provincial government. Border Development Authority Chairman Fred Konga wants all border agencies such as Customs, Immigration and Nakia, among others, to get things moving at the Wutung border.
The government, in its wisdom, want to manage our borders. So in that way, they are committed funding to establish, to develop our borders, to properly manage the borders, to safeguard the country's interests.
He says Indonesia already has a well-established border management that has seen it reap the benefits of border trade with Papua New Guinea. BDA, including all other border agencies, will be having a meeting soon to finalize their operational plans to open up the border for trade. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
Grade 10 students attending Waigani Christian School under the government's pilot project on standards-based education face the grim reality of being forced out of school. With just weeks away before the national examinations, they want the government to honour its commitment and fully fund the trial project by supporting the school financially. Over 400 students were selected from schools throughout NCD. They were selected to trial out the government standard-based education.
Waigani Christian School is a private school, but it was recently certified and recognized as an NCD school. There are 11 classes of grade 10s, totaling 465 students, trialing out the government's project on standard-based education. The only assistance from the government it received was the tuition fee-free funding of 500,000 kina. However, director and founder Benjamin Mool says this is insufficient to run the education trial project.
If they are serious about the education of our children, then they must come and pay the school fees for the students here.
They are ready to see the examinations, and the examinations are a couple of weeks away.
The arrangement for Waigani Christian School to trial out the government standard-based education was announced by the then Education Minister James Marape. When the portfolio was given to Nick Kuman, Mr. Marape wrote a letter dated March 11th in 2014 directing the Education Minister to assist Waigani Christian School.
When he went out, he wrote to James, to Nick Kuman and said, this is our pilot project, Prime Minister project and our government's project, so you fund it.
500,000 kina was released. However, this was not enough to cater for administrative costs for last year and this year. The school has been forced to sustain itself through internal funding. Now the grade 10s are worried they may miss out on their national exams.
But we believe and we have heard that the government will help us. We do not want to be sent away.
What will happen to the students? As the students, we don't want to roam around the streets.
So they can honor their commands so we can sit for our grade 10 exam. Because our grade 10 exam is coming very soon. So please, we kindly ask you guys to help us and help our director so we can continue and finish our grade 12 end of this year.
The management of Waigani Christian School has given the government 14 days to respond. If nothing is done, the grade 10 students will be forced out of school. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
Well, it's been nearly 10 years since the cocoa pod borer swept through East New Britain province, nearly crumbling the entire cocoa industry. Many farmers have lost hope in cocoa farming and have switched to other cash crops like copra and gardening to make an income. Cocoa farmers have raised concerns that support coming from agricultural institutions to revive this once thriving industry is lacking. EMTV's Edwin Fidelis reports.
When the disease swiftly crept through the hinterlands of East New Britain in 2006, over several thousand cocoa trees were destroyed as an interim measure to prevent the disease from spreading. Both the cocoa price and production have made a noticeable decline, and cocoa farmers lost thousands of kina to the disease. Eriman Tenita and Ugo Karogo own a little over a hectare of land in Kerevat on the outskirts of Kokopo town. They have recently replanted new cocoa trees to replace the infected ones that were destroyed during a CPB eradication process in 2007. They say for the past 9 years it hasn't been easy, especially when there were no solution to the disease. Their monthly production of 10 cocoa bags previously has been reduced to just 2 bags when the disease started attacking their cocoa.
Plenty of work long only no been successful. Plenty of farmer been give up. Only lose hope long this la cacao, work lo cacao.
To a large extent, support coming from agriculture institutions that were dedicated to find a solution to the problem has been unsatisfactory since the inception of the disease.
So time only make him not sila. Maybe only no help him too much. Only give him lick help him ta solo mi plan. Only lose mi play stop. Long mi play it.
400 kina lo one club bag. 410 samla time mi kisim 410 kina. Samla time sabi come down 5 kina. 405 kina. Samla time sabi gonda karabi gonda ken.
The livelihood of the East New Britain people have been greatly affected. Farmers' confidence in cocoa farming as an income earner had dipped in the past 9 years. A combination of high cost of insecticides, low cocoa price and inadequate support from agriculture organizations have caused farmers to switch to growing alternative cash crops. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Women in the country are gearing up for business opportunities during the 2015 Pacific Games here in Port Moresby. Since the announcement of the PNG Women in Business Expo, the number of interests has grown for women in various businesses and even women in Parliament. NCD Commissioner representing women and Director of the PNG Women in Business, Janet Sape, is taking the lead in creating opportunities for women through the expo.
There was a significant gathering this afternoon of women leaders, members of professional women business associations, members of the Women in Business and supporters to talk about the upcoming Women in Business Expo. The 10 days expo will run from the 2nd to the 12th of July alongside the Pacific Games. NCD Commissioner representing women and Director of PNG Women in Business, Janet Sape, said the expo is to showcase PNG women's products and services to the wider Pacific neighbors to foster business relations and exchange business ideas.
We realized that there was no opportunity for women when the SP Games would be held because there are no markets and there's no space available for women to do business. Therefore, we took up the initiative to host this expo, and we're very thankful.
Women in Business has also been asked to provide over 1,000 bilums to the Pacific Games Committee, which will be presented to the top athletes at the Games, together with the medals. The expo has also got the support of Women in Parliament, Lay MP Lujaya Koza. She has composed and will be singing the expo anthem, very similar to the one she sang in 1991 South Pacific Games hosted in PNG.
The fire alive. Keep the fire alive. We are women moving ahead in the years to come.
Katafemi, head of consumer of a major phone company, said the company was looking for opportunities to assist and was pleased to support the expo as naming rights sponsor with 180,000 kina consisting cash and kind. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
The Port Moresby Stock Exchange has suspended the securities of Airlines PNG from trading today. The suspension is in response to the company's delay in meeting its deadline for submission of its audited financial report and annual report to shareholders. The acting general manager, Vincent Ivosa, says the company faced a similar delay in 2014 and applied for and was granted suspension. He said the board thought that suspension was equally appropriate in this case. And now we take a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3685 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our kina was fetching $0.3610 $0.4529 Australian dollars, $0.3199 euro, and 43.14 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copper closed lower, while coffee and cocoa closed the day higher. Palm oil, crude oil and copper all closed the day lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed 14 points lower, the ASX closed at 4 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed the day unchanged. Kutubu LLG wants more funding. Also, Vocal Fusion Season 2 winner Maurice Opeti speaks of his plans and China dealing with fresh waves of web sanctioning. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back to the news. Kutubu local level government president John Killer has urged the government to increase funding for LLGs. The reduced level of funding from 500,000 kina to 100,000 kina has forced the Kutubu LLG to cut back on spending on other priority areas. The affected sector is agriculture, which is considered the backbone of the people.
Kutubu LLG President John Killer was upset that with the budget cuts, agriculture will be affected as more funding will be allocated for health and education. He says the budget cuts will affect the overall outcome of the district's 5-year development plan. Mr. Killer urged the government to maintain the 500,000 kina or increase the funding component. The president highlighted this while presenting his 2014 LLGSIP acquittal reports to the Department of Implementation and Rural Development. Some of the projects undertaken by the Kutubu LLG include road maintenance, Pimaga Rural Hospital, healthcare, primary schools, women's groups, village courts, and maintenance of the agriculture camp. Moving forward, Mr. Killer presented his 2013 to 2017 Kutubu LLG 5-year development plan, one which is aligned with the NIPA Kutubu development plan and the Southern Highlands Provincial Master Plan. Bridget Komatap, National EMTV News.
Business investments in the country have attracted a lot of local participation from both men and women. Following the end of the Australia PNG Business Forum yesterday, campaigners against gender-based violence used the forum to raise concerns about violence. MTV's Colin Baralai reports from Lae.
It comes following the Australian PNG Business Forum in Lae yesterday, where women and youth issues were a topic of discussion among the presentations. Co-founder of the Leniata Legacy and lawyer Cassandra Rangip says much of the violence against women stems from family-related matters. These advocates have been pushing for businesses to adopt a different approach of how to deal with violence affecting PNG women.
Is we should start actually creating some sense of regulation in the workplace, in the sport, places where we can actually regulate it. Because right now, at the moment where we're standing right now, we can't go into anybody's house and say, okay, walking mostemo, don't do that, we can't do that.
Diverse with over 800 languages, people have different mindsets on how to approach violence that can be dealt with through the justice systems. Rangip says behavior guides put in place could be used as a tool to protecting women in workplaces.
We can do that in businesses. We can set up standards that can be backed by legislation.
As PNG's economy grows, more women are being employed, but many of them still suffer from violence in their homes. Often, that violence spills over to the workplaces, affecting businesses. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Lae.
Well, MTV's 2015 Vocal Fusion winner, Maurice Opeti, proudly spoke to MTV of his future plans with the grand prize money of 50,000 kina and his dreams of pursuing a music career. This is what he had to say.
Still continue. Still singing up me what garage me what stick to me was singing it. In up me lapun still me no voice me out now but stop singing.
Turning overseas now, China is described as the largest social media network market to tap into, perhaps the largest but most sensitive, as the government's firewall blocks access to popular websites and apps like Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. However, some Chinese social netizens are hopeful of opportunities in the near future.
Blocking Facebook, Twitter and YouTube are part of China's internet censorship. But it doesn't stop there, as the Chinese government has allowed Baidu, Weibo and WeChat to operate. These are the Chinese equivalent to the Western sites and apps and are available for the Chinese population, which stands at approximately 1.3 billion people. One professor from the Communication University of China spoke recently with hope of possibilities at a seminar on new media development held at the University of International Business and Economics in Beijing.
Another approach could be, a joint invention by, Facebook and also Chinese local company, possibly Weibo or Baidu. We are not sure about that, but that's one possibility. There could be a joint enterprise established by a Chinese company and also by Facebook.
While it's still to be confirmed if a social media network giant like Facebook does enter China, it must be compatible and suited to Chinese laws. Currently, Facebook access is allowed in Papua New Guinea. However, the same cannot be said for another South Pacific country, Nauru, where the Nauru government has blocked access to Facebook several weeks ago.
Ahead in Trukai Sports, first 1,000 bilums ready for the games and Pukpuk's named 16-man squad. All the details when we come back. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Pacific Games All-Search Baton Relay arrived in Popondetta, provincial capital of Oro Province, to the excitement of the locals. Traditional Sing groups, the police and even school children in the town all joined in to celebrate the arrival of the baton. MTV's Jeremy Moggy has all the highlights.
Flying in by charter to Popondetta, the welcome was made official on the Girua tarmac. Driving from the airport to Popondetta town, dancers from the area showing their welcome on the main roads, beating their drums in chorus with the famous Oro Tapa on display. Colorful bilums, even the local Millen Bay community on show. The town centre becoming a cultural showground as the people congregated to join in on history. Baton Relay manager Tamsin Wardley looking on as the national anthem was sung in the local dialect. Staff from the local BSP branch wishing PNG well. Wardley also receiving a gift from the local organizers. The baton then received, passed on and joining in on the local sing-sings as well. Before going on with the rest of the relay, with students from the international school given an amazing opportunity to ride with it. Also to have a touch and feel of the baton. Popondetta Secondary School next, the students filling the school grounds. The Skills Training Institute also joining in. Kurala Kokomo also making an appearance. The Higatura Oil Palm Plantation another stop with their workers. Jeremy Moggy, National, MTV Sports.
The Pacific Games Organising Committee received its first 1,000 traditional PNG bilum bags to be used for the Pacific Games medal ceremonies. The bilums will be presented to all medal winners in place of traditional bouquets, a move that's part of GOC's overall vision to use the games to showcase PNG's culture to the world. EMTV's Godwin Eki reports.
After receiving the first 1,000 bilum bags, GOC CEO Peter Stewart said the bilums are a significant part of the culture and an iconic symbol of PNG, which will be on display to the rest of the world through the Pacific Games broadcast in July. The Port Moresby Women Making Bilum Association, PNG Women in Business and Goroka-based Bilum have been engaged to make up to 3,000 bilum bags that will be presented to the Pacific Games athletes in over 250 medal ceremonies. She said the opportunity will leave behind a great legacy for those women and thanked the Games Organizing Committee for helping women in our communities. The bilum bags feature the Pacific Games colors, with each bag unique in design and style. Mrs. Sape added that the PNG Women in Business will also run an expo to coincide with the Games at the Constitutional Park, allowing women from all over PNG to showcase and sell their products. Goroka-based Jauka Bilum Products is also expected to present their batch in the coming weeks. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
The National Gaming Control Board today became the newest member of the Pacific Games family when they announced that they will be a platinum sponsor of the 2015 Pacific Games. The multi-million kina investment comes 45 days before the Games kick off. Once again, Godwin Eki reports.
Joining other corporate sponsors of the 2015 Pacific Games, the National Gaming Control Board and the government today announced its platinum sponsorship with funding of 6,950,000 kina to help support the Games. This is not the first time for NGCB to sponsor sporting events, as it has been sponsoring and assisting many sporting codes in the country, including international competitions with the recent 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games and many others. Acting Chief Executive Officer for National Gaming Control Board, Imelda Agon, acknowledged the tremendous efforts of the government through the Sports and Events Minister, Pacific Games, and the Games Management Team under Peter Stewart in putting together everything in a short period of time.
Evidently, sports cuts across barriers, promoting social interaction, foster tolerance, and helping to create dialogue with our Pacific neighbors. That's including Australia and New Zealand. NGCB, through its Give Back program.
Chairperson Games Organizing Committee Emma YY said the GOC is well and truly underway with preparations, and they have sold up to 100,000 kina worth of tickets, with swimming tickets all sold out.
We have 14 local and international broadcasters who have come on board as our broadcast right holders to broadcast the event throughout the country, the Pacific and the world.
Making his way up slowly was Pacific Games mascot Turada Kokomo, who joined the chairperson of Games Organizing Committee Emma YY to receive the check of 6,950,000 kina. Upon receiving the checks from the National Gaming Control Board, said John Davanikura presented Pacific Games tickets for NGCB staff. As part of the government and the National Gaming Control Board's sponsorship, the money will go towards the 2015 Pacific Games and the operational cost of the Games. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Coach of the PNG Puma Energy Pukpuk Sevens, Billy Rapila, has released a 16-man team list in the lead-up towards the Games. Following their impressive form in Hong Kong, the boys now have to go one step further and perform to an exceptional standard in July. The named team is a mix of experienced campaigners and debutants, with David Airy to make his comeback to professional rugby. EMTV's Lorraine Genia caught up with the team in training.
Now, following their week-long camp here in Port Moresby at the IPA Institute, the Puma Energy Pukpuk Sevens are at their final stages of preparations. Arthur Clement, who was part of the team to travel to Hong Kong for the IRB World 7 Series circuit, says the environment within the team has improved and they are looking to use that to boost their performance in July.
Now, the current team, we have young boys, we have staff training. We are forming good team and young boys, we have staff. We side me at me feeling good feeling it side boys, we have staff. Say how me staff, me staff good training. I sleep one time and staff.
Eugene Tokovai and Max Valia are of the fresher talent, while Hensley Peter has returned from injury and David Airy makes his comeback. Hubert Cherahar would be the strongest contender to resume the captaincy role after leading the team to victory in several international tournaments. While the team has proven to be one of Papua New Guinea's best sevens teams in recent years, Arthur Clements says they must improve on their fitness and defence in order to beat their strongest rivals in the Pacific, Fiji, Samoa and Cook Islands.
Sometimes careless belum tahu weaknesses serious belum tahu bangla ken winim sila all team kind of Tonga Samoa na Cook Island yang fitness level belum berapa kita ken pick him up na lo side lo defense mika walk strong long em lo can shut him down all big players lo name lo sila tripla team.
Speaking to the boys, the confidence within the team has grown. Now momentum is slowly but surely building towards the Pacific Games. Lorraine Genia National, EMTV Sports.
You're watching True Guy Sports tonight. When we come back, the Lewas are in Samoa, Hunters lineup unchanged and Origin team set. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome back to True Guy Sports. New South Wales and Queensland teams have been announced for the 2015 State of Origin. Coach for New South Wales Blues, Laurie Daly, has stuck with halfback Trent Hodgkinson and brought back Mitchell Pearce into the side at 5'8".
This year's State of Origin will feature a mixture of experience, youth and form. The New South Wales Blues will be without former NRL superstar turned NFL convert Jared Hayne, who is replaced by the exciting Dragon Josh Dugan.
Dugan, 15 minutes out. One more so the Dragons.
Coach for the Blues, Laurie Daly, has paired Mitchell Pearce and Trent Hodgkinson in the halves.
Hodgkinson is over. Hodgkinson comes around.
Bo Scott will be up front with the new generation of forwards Josh Jackson, David Clemmer, Boyd Cordner and Andrew Fifita. The Queensland Maroons will be out for revenge after the Blues put an end to their 8-year reign in Origin last year.
New South Wales have won it.
With Billy Slater, Greg Inglis and Justin Hodges in the backline and Cooper Cronk and Jonathan Thurston to control play in the halves, the Maroons will have an exciting backline which will without a doubt be a worry for the Blues. Their experienced forward pack includes Sam Thaiday and Nate Miles. With experienced campaigners and exciting new talent, Origin 2015 looks to be a thriller.
New South Wales.
Dion Combang, National, MTV Sports.
Well, that's it in news and True Guy Sports. Coming up next, the weather details. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports. True Guy Sports.
A quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region. All centres fine weather. In Momase, a few showers expected in Wewak and Vanimore. In the New Guinea Islands, thundery showers expected in KVM. And lastly, in the Highlands region, all centres cloudy weather. Well, that's been the bulletin this Wednesday, the 20th of May, 2015. From the news team, I'm Tokana Hasavi. As always, thanks heaps for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.